Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
The Daily Compliance News for April 21, 2025, the Tribute to Pope Francis edition. And we begin our news today with a tribute to Pope Francis, the Pope of the Catholic Church, who passed away overnight on Easter Sunday. I can't think of a much more appropriate time for a Pope to pass away if that has to happen. He was known as a friend of the needy and those who were down and needed help, and he was a great boon for the Catholic Church. So, tribute to Pope Francis. Our first compliance story of the day comes to us from the New York Times, which reports that the $260 million airport built in Nepal by China was littered with corruption. No surprise there, and perhaps the Trump administration will look into the corruption in Nepal. I'm sure there's a U.S. connection there somewhere. That's what the FCPA is for, and it points to exactly why there needs to be FCPA enforcement, because countries like China routinely engage in bribery and corruption. Next up, from the Wall Street Journal business section, Sherry Quinn reporting that a U.S. congressional committee has urged 2 U.S. banks to pull out of working on the Chinese battery giant Contemporary Ampertex Technologies, or CATL's, planned listing in Hong Kong, expressing significant concerns over their involvement. The underwriting offering had Bank of America and J.P. Morgan exposing themselves to serious regulatory, financial, and reputational risks, according to the chairman of the House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party. The letters sent were to BOA President Brian Moynihan and J.P. Morgan's Jaime Dimon, which referred to President Trump's America First investment policy, which aims at preventing U.S. investments into companies tied to the Chinese military. We continue with a bit of a Jaime Dimon theme for our next story. This one comes to us from the Financial Times. In a 57-page letter, Morgan wrote, he talked about a lot of things, but from the perspective of management, he wrote about the bane of all companies, which is meetings. And he says that companies need to have as few meetings as possible. Indeed, he says, kill them if they happen, but if you do have to have them, make sure they have a hard start and end time and a clear purpose. Organize them so they are only attended by relevant participants. And calls for meeting calls have been warmly received. And as I said, even in my corporate existence, the meeting was the bane of indeed the entire business. And our final story comes to us from Bitcoin News, which reports that Binance has embraced compliance in India, and they are cracking down on AML and violations by requiring full KYC. So it looks like even Binance may have gotten some religion about compliance, and it's certainly good news for the AML world going forward. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.